what you guys all up to? It's your boy Alan here again, back with another episode. And today I'm going to do something a little different. So I want to talk about this topic, which I'm not going to mention because I'm not going to get demonetized. I was actually going to talk about this a long time ago, but recently, in the past 24 hours, there's been a lot of updates regarding this subject. So it's about the reopening of California. The main areas, which are the larger, more remote places, and then the smaller, more dense cities, and the differences on how each place is going to address, because they're all going to be opened at different rates depending on how packed they are. So it's not going to be like California is going to open phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 all at the same time, which in my opinion is very smart, because if your town only has like 50 people and nobody has it, then your town probably isn't going to get it unless they somehow like have an airport built in the last minute. So I want to start by saying that we all want to go back to work. So just because somebody doesn't want to get back to work, it doesn't mean that I don't think that they're not American or anti-capitalist. I think people just want to be safe. And right now, even though we see a lot of these protests about people going to these city halls and rioting or protesting, and people not wearing masks, the majority of people, around like 70 to 80%, they do behave well. They are staying at home, and when they leave, they do wear masks. So the majority of people do not, they are following the rules. A little about myself, I do have a degree before I was bartending, and I used to work in the biotech field. And I studied molecular biology in college, and one of those classes I took was also public health. So this pandemic stuff, I'm going to lean towards where the scientists are going to follow. So I hope that gives you guys a more balanced view, because I'm not going to be one-sided either way. So this article I saw yesterday, but it looks like it got updated just like 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago as of now. So I'm going to put screenshots, because just in case this article gets updated. But I will post a link so you can see what the updated one, but this is how it is. So this is from the San Francisco Chronicle. The title is SF releases timeline for schools, sports, gyms, restaurants to reopen. It was posted on May 28, but updated May 29 at 3:41 p.m. It is May 29 and 4:08 p.m. right now. San Francisco officials Thursday unveiled the plan that will guide the city's gradual emergence from stay-at-home mandates that have defined and upended daily life for more than 2 months during the pandemic. The city's plans reflects San Francisco's progress to date in curbing the spread of the So as long as the city continues to limit the transmission of the virus and suppress the numbers of new cases and hospitalizations, it will shift to the next phase of reopening starting June 15, when most indoor retail sales, outdoor restaurant dining, non-emergency medical appointments, and professional sporting events without fans in the seats will be allowed to resume. Okay, so that sounds fine. I'm just concerned about the indoor retail sales and how that's going to work. It's probably going to be how it is right now with the grocery stores. They're probably going to have a line that's going to limit how many people are going to be allowed, and there's going to have markers with like social distancing on the line. So the outdoor dining is kind of interesting. So San Francisco currently do not have some places do have patio seating, but this is not what it's talking about. This is going to be talking about closing some streets and expanding the seats to be outside for the servers to take care of. So to my knowledge, at this point, the indoor dining is still not going to be available. The only reason why we are in this situation in the first place is because most San Franciscans took the stay-at-home order seriously, Mayor London Breed said at a news conference Thursday. This is absolutely true. I think that is why we have done so well. I mean, the worst I've seen was people walking around with masks, but those are usually people walking around their neighborhood or within their neighborhood. And even then, they're not creating a fuss about not wearing masks if they have to. So they're not harassing like strangers or anything. So that's one thing I'm proud about my fellow San Franciscans, is that it's kind of like how people speed like 2 miles over the speed limit. Yeah, I think a lot of people who don't wear face masks when they go out, that's as far as they can go. They're not like going up to people, and they're still minding their own business, keeping a social distancing. So that's good. San Francisco residents will have to live within a new normal until a vaccine is available. I totally agree. This virus is predicted to have a second wave, and it's going to be around the same time the influenza season is going to happen, and this is going to make things worse because if you get one disease, these two diseases can tag team against you. For example, if you're a strong person and healthy and don't smoke, and you get exposed to the you're probably going to be asymptomatic. But if you have pneumonia, which anyone can get, even it doesn't matter how fit you are, like a lot of athletes get pneumonia, and then you get next to somebody who has you might die even if you're statistically not supposed to get it. I mean, if you get pneumonia, that's automatically a underlying condition, and that makes, even though it's the temporary underlying condition, it can drastically increase the risk of being killed by this virus. So until there's a vaccine, I don't think we will ever hit phase 4. That's just my opinion. As more people start to move about, city officials also introduced a new rule that anyone aged 13 or older must wear a mask outdoors when not within 30 feet of anyone not... Okay, that's kind of strange. Why would people under 13 not need to wear a mask? The rule also applies to runners. That's kind of strange too, because they previously said they didn't have to wear masks. I mean, the only thing I can think of is maybe it's because they expect the streets to be more crowded. Still more guidance around personal interactions like social visits, dinner parties, play dates is forthcoming. That is going to be a little... you can't really regulate that. Like, if people want to go to each other's houses, that's going to happen regardless. I mean, it's best that they don't throw house parties with a lot of strangers, but you can't really regulate that. Especially once we start to move into this next phase, you don't really know if anyone knows each other, so you can't really enforce that. The plan allows for expanded childcare and curbside retail and access to botanical gardens and outdoor museums and historical sites starting Monday. Indoor in-person religious services and ceremonies will be allowed to resume to June 15, as will outdoor exercise classes. That's kind of strange. Why would indoor religious... was it in-person religious services? Does that mean indoors or... Well, I have no opinion on that because I don't know what that means. So this is the part that's relevant, the bars. So we're talking about bars without food. Because right now it's very hard to argue that they are essential. Because cocktails, unfortunately, you don't really need to have it. So it's kind of hard to make an argument for, especially a lot of them don't have, if they don't have a kitchen, they usually also don't have seating. So it's kind of hard to regulate how guests are going to sit if they don't have arranged seatings. So that's going to happen in August. But they said schools are going to be open too, which is strange because I thought they said schools were not going to be open for the rest of the year. So the last phase obviously is phase 4, but that there's no point of looking at that yet because we still need a vaccine before we can hit a real phase 4. Maybe it's going to be like a 3.8, but I think, or 3.9, but I think a true 4.0 is not going to happen. Okay, I read the rest of the article. It doesn't look like there's anything else planned. So these are the dates that I think, this is what the dates that I got. This is the reopening schedule as of 5/29. Okay. June 15th, outdoor restaurant dining. July 13th is going to be modified indoor dining. And mid-August, bars. So I guess if they can figure out a modified indoor dining for restaurants, then I guess by August they'll have a clear plan. And I'm almost certain that this is going to be not written in stone because that still is about 1.5 months difference. So they're probably going to gauge on whether the cases are going to go up or down. Because 6 weeks, I think you can get, especially if it's going to start soon, which is for us, I guess. And it's also going to be relevant to how the rest of the state opens, because everyone else is opening up before us. So I think that's going to be used to gauge on what we should do. So going back, I still am not sure about how bars are going to do it, because they inherently don't have a way of separating people. Like, people generally like to sit next to people or interact with people, and unless it's like you have to like make a reservation and go as a group, and you're not allowed to like interact with another group. I mean, I don't know how they're gonna enforce social distancing without any reliable antibody detection or vaccines, of course. So I'll be interested on how that plays out. So here's what I think about reopening bars and restaurants. In my opinion, the public, because of a lot of surveys, they're still not confident. It's even when bars and restaurants do reopen, I don't think they're going to be as packed as they were on a normal rate. Because a lot of people, they think that wearing a mask and dining, it makes it feel like you're in a hospital, that there's something, there's a psychological factor that goes with going out and being with your friends. And if you're wearing masks and you see your friends wearing masks, everyone else is wearing masks, is kind of a reminder that, there's something that it's not normal quite yet. So I think a lot of bars and restaurants are going to choose not to reopen, because they're not going to get enough volume to pay people to go back to work. And the fact that a lot of people are getting unemployment, it's hard to get them to go back to work if they're working and if they're going to have to legally have to report their wages, and that's going to get deducted. So they might end up making the same amount of money if they work. So there's no incentive. On that note, I think if California really does want to stimulate the economy, they need to give people who choose to work an incentive to work. Like, for example, maybe they should not lose their unemployment benefits, because it's very hard to convince someone to come in, risk their health, and maybe make slightly more than what they would have made if they just stayed at home and collected unemployment. So these are tough issues. Another issue is that I know that in Germany, they're approaching this a lot different than us. They are doing something similar to UBI, but they give it to the business owners. And we do talk about, like, the stimulus package, unemployment, the 600 extra a week to the individual people, but there's no equivalent to that. The retail shops and the restaurants that have to pay rent. So while everyone is talking about UBI for individuals, I think we should also talk about something similar for business owners, so that they can pay the rent. Just because you're not open doesn't mean you're not paying rent. You're still paying for the electricity, air conditioning, and all that stuff, unfortunately. So there should be something similar, like a UBI for businesses, that just covers the rent if they cannot open, or they do not want to open, or they do not feel comfortable to be open. Because the businesses aren't going to go out of business. A lot of these employees can come back to work once everything is back to normal again. So that's one thing that I think should be considered, because unfortunately a lot of bars are going to be closing. I mean, I know a lot of bars are closed because of this. We have these PPP loans and stuff, but it's like really not enough. Like, there needs to be something that's done in a permanent future that addresses when something like this happens, because rent and overhead was already a problem before. I mean, restaurants were not making money, and they were almost always in debt. They were, like, a good month would be breaking even, but other than that, they would be losing money every month. And that's like really unfortunate, especially in San Francisco, where the average restaurant, even on a good year, would probably only survive only 18 months, right? There was no, it was just because the rent was too high. So that's my video. I don't know what else to say. I mean, these are tough times. This article will probably change, or something else is probably going to change. But I thought I'd post this video up just because it is very relevant to the bartending industry right now. And it is something that we should talk about more openly. Like, I know a lot of bartenders are talking about it. And maybe occasionally it gets to like mainstream media. But there's still like a lot of these issues regarding restaurants and reopening after this pandemic. A lot of the public don't realize it. So if you have any comments or questions, please post below, and maybe we'll talk about it next episode, because since these are some tough times, I'm gonna try to post like every day, because I think that there's gonna be a lot changing pretty quick, especially if these news articles are changing, you know, within only a few hours. So if you like what you guys are watching, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.